Hey, Dan. It is Sunday, the 8th of January, and it's been a long weekend, and I thought I would tell you about it. I do have one little short 20-second video to intersperse as I'm talking, but otherwise, you just have to look at me and listen to me, or just listen to me, or neither, I guess. Anyway, so yesterday was a big day. Lucas and I, and Todd did the 100-100 swim, or the 10,000 yard swim, or as I like to say it, 10 kilo yards swim. Everybody else swam a lot, like a guy named Scott did 8,500. I think Bob did 8,000. So everybody did a lot of yards for them. And then we had a big potluck at our house afterwards. It was actually bigger than I expected. And because it had been so busy going into yesterday, I just didn't even have any time to do anything. So it was sort of humorous, maybe after the fact, that as we show up, Beth thought we were starting at 9:30. People started showing up at 9. Actually, Pepe's wife, Christina, and daughter, Alessia, showed up at like 9:15. And Beth is still in her jammies and is making scones. Anyway, it was a good potluck. There were, what, Beth, 15, 20 people here?
At least.
At least. And it was nice. Everyone swam lots of yards. We ate lots of food. And so, as I said, Lucas and I swam together, and we swam at the same speed. So what we did is we swam everything on the interval of 1 minute, 30 second 100s. So we started off by doing 2 500s. And so we did each 500 on 7.5 minutes, because that's 5 times 1 minute, 30 seconds, right? So we hit the wall at, I don't know, 6:40, 6:45, 6:50. So we had, 40 seconds rest before we started the next 500. And then we did 4 400s, 8 300s, 12 200s, 16 100s, and 20 50s. And that equaled 10 kilo yards. The 50s were interesting because on 130s, that's only 45 seconds, and we were hitting the wall at like 40 seconds. So it felt like really we had no time at all to rest, and we were just into the next one. Now, granted, 2050s on 45-second intervals only takes 15 minutes, so that was the last 1,000 yards. Anyway, it went well. I have, after much trial and error, have settled on drinking water, and I also use chicken bone broth as a energy electrolyte replacement and salts replacement. So it worked great. It's easy to digest. I don't throw it up. So it worked pretty perfect. Lucas, on the other hand, didn't eat any breakfast and didn't eat anything at all during the swim. One interesting thing about that is we had decided earlier in the week that we were going to turn the clock on right at 5:30. Now, for me, I like to start my big swims like that with the clock at 0. We start swimming right when the clock comes on. For me, it makes it easier to keep track of where I'm at, because I don't count the laps so much as I just go by the time, especially on the 500s, the 400s, and the 300s. So I set my alarm clock for, I don't know, 4:40, 4:45, something like that. Unfortunately, I set my weekday alarm, and I woke up purely by chance at 5 o'clock. I wolfed down some breakfast, got to the pool at like 5:20, and was in the pool ready to swim at 5:30. It had been a very long day on Friday as well. Lots of training. I had to go and repair some equipment, so I was up on a ladder a lot. And in fact, I had to replace a heater rod that blew out in the Fetco brewer. So here's a picture of what a heater rod looks like when it's new. And here's a picture of the one that I had. So what happens is they develop little cracks in them. Water gets into those cracks. The element comes on, and the water essentially turns to vapor and then expands rapidly and blows the rod open. So anyway, I was up on the ladder and I thought that for sure I was going to end up cramping. And I did end up with one cramp in my calf, but it wasn't bad. And I was able to stretch it out while swimming. So as I said, we went from there to the potluck. Pepe brought tamales, which were awesome. Lisa brought over buckwheat waffles and a couple of waffle makers. Those were good. Beth made scones, and then various other people made various other things, all very nice. And then from there, at noon, I started on the bar at the drive-thru. It was very busy from noon to 3. I was training a new person. Her name is Britta. She's doing great. That was her second day yesterday. And so it was Britta, Marcus, and I from noon to 3, and then just Britta and I from 3 to 4. And we got out of there about 4:45. So I got home, got some food, took a shower, and then Beth and I went to this month's ballroom dance, which happened to be a formal dance, at least semi-formal. There was some people who wore tuxes and some people who wore jean tuxes. Yeah, anyway. So there was a spectrum of formality. How about that? And this was, as the past dances have been, the first hour is lessons and refresher, and they covered really foxtrot and waltz. And then the dance itself started. The dance has they have a playlist on all the tables, which not only tells you what the song is, but also tells you what ballroom dance goes well with that song, which is really handy to know whether you're supposed to be dancing foxtrot, waltz, tango, rumba, etc. So it was a lot of fun. And one of the things they do with these dances is they have a thing that actually goes with samba, which is essentially a choreographed dance that everyone does together. It's almost like it feels to me like a country line dancing where everybody's doing the same moves, and that's fun, even if I can't quite get the moves down. And then the other thing they have is they have a 4-dance foxtrot mixer. So all 4 dances are foxtrot. And you've got the leaders, the dance leaders, typically the men, not always though, who gather on the left side of the dance floor, and the followers who line up on the right side of the dance floor, and you're not lining up like with your partner or anything, you're just getting in line. And as you come to the front of the line, whoever's at the front of the line, the other person, you dance with them. So I ended up dancing with several people. One woman who, she must have been 22, college student. One much older woman than I. And a woman named Heather, who is actually Joe's mother, Joe, who works for me, the barista, the kid that I sent off to Germany as a high school Rotary exchange student. And then a couple of other people. So it's really an interesting thing. It's a little anxiety inducing. You never know who you're going to get. And you're also, of course, worried about whether you're actually a functional, competent dancer or not. So anyway, here's a little clip of Beth dancing with Stan, and Stan and Molly is the couple who run this dance club and put all these dances together, and they're also the ones who provide the lessons. So anyway, that was very nice. We stayed until 9:40, so it was a good full long day, and then today, of course, I woke up at 6 a.m. I couldn't get to sleep last night. Too wound up from the day, I guess. So I got up at 6, went into Mugby, did some stuff, and then came home at 8, brought Beth some coffee, and then went back out at 10. And my intention was to go down to the river. This was when I was texting you to see if you wanted to go in. I didn't think anybody else was going to be there. I hadn't talked to anybody. Sarah said she was going to go in the afternoon. She had sent a text out, but I saw no one respond to that. Stefan's out of town. And I thought, well, it's been 3 days, at least 2 full days since anybody's gone. And it's been really cold down near, certainly below or in the single digits. So I decided I'm just going to go down. I'm just going to put some music on. I've been listening to a podcast on the history of rock songs. And what this person does is she picks a rock song and she'll give you the backstory of it. So I thought I'm going to listen to that. It's going to be great. I'm just going to go down and just play in the ice by myself. So I get out of my car because you hadn't texted me back. So I get out of my car. I start pulling my tools out. And at that point, a Subaru Legacy rolls up, parks in front of me. And this young couple gets out. Turns out they are 22 and 24 years old. And he was wearing a pair of board shorts. And I said, hey, you guys getting in the water? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, well, that's awesome. I said, you're perfect timing because I'm about to go down and open the hole back up again with my handy Klingon ice saw and my ice chisel. And I introduced myself. Their names were Cade and Callie. And they said they had actually gone yesterday. And I asked them, how in the world did you get through the ice? And they said, well, we had a couple of hammers and it took us a really long time to make a hole big enough for us both to get in. So I think they actually just had gotten in and just sort of squatted down and then gotten back out again. So I had Cade make a couple of holes with the chisel, and then I started ice sawing. And at that point, Sarah rolls up and she said she just decided to go now. Didn't expect anybody to be there and was just going to try to get through the ice with her ice chisel. Good thing we were there because the ice was easily 4 to 5 inches thick. Ice saw was great. 10 minutes, we had the whole hole, the entire hole cut out. Pulled the ice out with the ice tongs, and in we sat. So as we were sitting there, we introduced ourselves. Callie is a Winona State student. She's in her senior year in exercise science, and Kate, her husband, he works at Mayo doing some sort of rehab, physical rehab. And so I was talking about the previous day and ballroom dancing, and they were like, oh, we were at the dance in December, which was awesome. I don't know if I had talked about it, but Beth and I had gone to the last dance in December as well. And so we talked about that for a bit, and I told them I owned Mugby Junction, and that's what I did. So I had lent them, Cade and Callie, a pair of booties because I had them in the car. And so as we got out, Callie brought the booties back over. She hands them to me, and then she turns to walk away, and then turns back and says, can I ask you an odd question? And it's like, sure, I'm all for odd questions. She says, do you play golf? And it's like, hey, you bet I play golf. She said, do you play up at Bridges? And I said, yes. I said, do you work at the Grill? Because you really look familiar. I was wondering if maybe I'd met you somewhere. And she's like, no, I'm actually one of the groundskeepers. I mow, I'm out, I run, I'm, on one of the mowers. And it's like, you're the only woman who works at the grounds crew. I said, of course, that's where I recognize you from. She said, when you said you worked at Mugby, it reminded me that I had met you this past summer, and I, obviously Mike and I were playing, and she usually what the groundskeepers will do, they'll stop as we approach the green and they'll let us play through and then they'll start up again. And I obviously, said what I did and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it was a really funny connection that they just happened to be at the river. They were at the ballroom dance last month, and she mows the grass at Bridges as a student college job. So anyway, that's all of my story. Man, this was a long time. So sorry about that. I hope you had a good weekend, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it.